Today we're going to be talking about food labels. There's going to be two videos. The first video is I'm going to take us through what the food labels look like and how to determine if the food label is going to meet our goals that we've set up for ourselves. And the second video is going to be a food label game. So you want to make sure you check that second video out. If you already read the food label in your packages, congratulations, give yourself a high five. It should be a pretty easy video for you to watch. So let's get started. First, let's talk about what my particular goals are. My goals may be very different from what your goals are. Your goals, of course, is recommended. Talk with a nutritionist, talk with a doctor, figure out what your goals should be. But my goals are, I want to keep my fat intake under 3%, so the number of calories that I receive on a daily, weekly basis will be less than 30%. My protein, I want it to be 25% or greater. And what's left over, whatever that happens to be, is going to be carbohydrates. Usually it's not a challenge to get carbohydrates in using a Western diet, but at 45% there for carbohydrates. As a reminder, how many calories are each gram of the category? We've got 9 for fat, 4 for carbs, 4 for protein. You may be using the 943. If you are, that's cool too. I'm going to be using a 944. And then there's another video where I explain where proteins after various processes actually have 3 calories instead of 4. But we're going to use 4 calories here. Okay, some of the goals. I want to avoid sugar when it comes to carbohydrates. And I also want to avoid white flour, although white flour isn't going to play much into what we're doing today. And as I've explained before, your body converts white flour so efficiently, it's also as efficient as converting sugar. And I've covered that already. Let's move on. This is what the United States food labeling looks like. We have the original label and what the new label looks like. And a lot of what I'm going to be showing you is going to come off of the original label just because there aren't a lot of examples out there that I could pull from other than going through a food cupboard to get some new label examples. Then I liked with this old label is it told you how many calories was coming from fat. And so that helped out quite a bit because then I didn't have to do the math of 8 times 9 equals 72 because the math was already done for me. 8 grams of fat times 9 calories per gram gives you 72 calories. But what they started figuring out is that, there's good fat and there's bad fat. And what some of the manufacturers would do is in this category is only count the bad fat and the good fat. So the math didn't always add up. The total grams times 9 didn't always equal whatever it was that had up here. And it became confusing. You can see in the new design, they threw calories from fat. Certainly, depending upon what your goals are, you may be concerned with fat, or you're concerned with other things. Maybe you're concerned with protein or something else. So just to focus on the fat probably is unfair. So in the new, all the same information is here. They just mixed it up a little bit. Calories much larger, much more obvious. What see. They also played around with some of the sugars as well. Now, let's see how the food label, the one that we have on our screen, lines up with what my goals are. This is the new nutrition label, and you'll notice the 8 grams of fat I've already talked about. So times 9 calories, 8 grams times 9 calories gives us 72 calories for fat. There's 130 calories in this serving. So we take our 72 calories from fat, divide it into the 230 calories for the entire item, and it tells us that this product, if we assume this, 31% of the calories from this product is going to come from fat sources. Remember what my goal is. My goal is 30% or less has to come from fat. So right now, from a fat point of view, this product would not me towards my goals. 1% off. It's not the end of the world. If I had to, make it up somewhere else, I probably could. But that's what you're looking at. And one thing to keep in mind is when you set your goals, and say in my case 30% for fat, if all I eat all day long is food that contains under 30% fat, at the end of the day, I'm guaranteed to have met my goal. Hopefully, this should be common sense. If I never eat more than 30% fat, then I will have never eaten more than 30% fat. So if you focus on foods that always meet your goals, then you're always going to meet your goals. Okay, I don't know how more simple I can say it, but it isn't always that simple. But the point is to look at these labels, find the foods that are going to help you meet your goals, and you'll be better off. So if to 31%, that's not really helping me 30%. And protein, we got protein of 3 grams. That every gram of protein is 4 calories. That's what we're using. So 3 grams times 4 calories gives us 12 calories of protein. 12 calories of protein divided by the 230 calories for the serving says that this product is going to give me 5% protein. My goal is 25% or higher, so this is not going to help me with my protein goal. Now, it looks like in my carbs jumped ahead a little bit on me. Carbs are, what's left over. It's a little bit more complex than that. You take the carbs times 4 to do the division. But when you're standing in the grocery aisle and you're doing all this mental math, sometimes it's just easier to say, okay, if I've got 5% in protein, 31% in fat, that's 36%. There's going to be carbs at 64%. Now, my goal for carbs is 45%. This is not going to help me to get near my carb goal. Now, when I'm looking at food help me with my goals, I'm mostly looking at protein and fat. And, whatever's left over is going to fall into the carbohydrate area. But it depends upon, that's me, depends upon what your goals are. You may be striving for a low carbohydrate diet or to keep your carbs under control or whatever. And in that case, you're going to be more interested in carbs than maybe protein or maybe fat or whatever the case may be. So this is what works well for me. This is how you can figure this out. Now, notice that more slide. Let me go continue on here. Goals. It doesn't. Okay. Now look at sugars. Remember, one of my goals is to stay low on sugars, and you really shouldn't. Your calories, less than 10% of your calories should be coming from sugar. That's me saying it. Talk to your nutritionist. They may tell you something different. But that's what I'm using. I want the calories I receive every day, 10% or less, to come from sugar. So I have 12 grams of sugar in this product. There's 55 grams in this entire product. Now, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I could do 12 times 4 divided into 230, or I could take this 12 grams divided into the 55, which is what I did. 12 grams divided 55 says 22. This product is 22% sugar, much more than the 10% that my goal calls for. Again, does this meet my goals? No, nothing here in this product would meet my goals. So as I'm figuring out what I'm going to eat for the day, this is probably a product I would not want to pick. Now, during discussion about labels, I'm not going to be talking about vitamins. I'm not going to be talking about sodium, cholesterol. I'll be breaking out good fat versus bad fat, going into the ingredients at all. What describes the protein, the sugars, the carbohydrates, the total number of grams, that's what we're going to be discussing as we get into these labels. You get really good with these labels, you get to understand them and understand what you need, and you progress through this. You'll be more interested in those other topics, but I think if you're kind of new to looking at labels, this is a lot of information already. It's probably enough. Okay. You've got to get these labels in the grocery store. You pull a product off the shelf, you need to turn it around and look at the back of the label and do that mental math. Maybe you need a calculator to figure out all this stuff. Maybe you need a spreadsheet and a mainframe. Hopefully it's not that complex. But you should be able to look at the product and say, oh, yeah, this is about 50% fat. This is about 35% fat. You should be able to recognize labels that are going to help you with your goals and recognize those labels that are not. It's going to, we got a label game coming up next video. That's going to help you on that. So to do this in the store. And this can be difficult for some people, okay? Maybe you're a little self-conscious. You put on a little weight, you're a little self-conscious about that, and now you're looking at labels, and everybody's going to be looking at you like, oh, there's the fat person looking at the labels or something. I don't know. Let me tell you, in the grocery store, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you're doing. Unless you're standing in front of the Cocoa Puffs and I need the Cocoa Puffs, I really don't care what you're doing. Okay, stay out of the way of the Cocoa Puffs so I can get to them. You can stand there and look at the products all day long. You can look at the labels. You can do anything you want. I don't care. Just don't stand in front of my Cocoa Puffs. Okay, so if you're conscious about standing in the store and looking at these labels, get over it. You do this. This is very important stuff to do. If you've got bad food and you put it in your cart, you're going to take it home and put it in your mouth. Stop it at the grocery store before it ever gets in your cart. If you get an idea of what foods meet your goals, then you can start planning out your meals. And this will also help you with your grocery list. Now, you may already be doing meal planning, and if you are, congratulations, awesome. That is great. If you're the type that wanders through the store and what we're going to have tomorrow night for dinner, and you that's, some people are like that. But if you plan your week out, you know what you have to go shopping for, what meals you're going to make tomorrow, the next day, and so on and so forth. Then it's much better. And you get that plan based on the foods that you know that meet what your goal requirements are. What I do is I do similar, but I use a whiteboard. I got a large whiteboard just like this one. This isn't my whiteboard, but I got a large whiteboard like this hanging on the back of the pantry door in my kitchen. And Sunday night I go through and write out all the meals that we're having for the week. And this lets everybody in the family know what to expect. You don't have these what's for dinner tonight kind of things. We know what we're having for dinner tonight, tomorrow night, the next night, so on. We know what we're having to have for lunch on Saturday. It's planned out, and meals that are selected, like I said, are selected to meet our goals. Okay, hopefully this video has been helpful. I apologize it's longer than I'd like to make these videos. Next video is going to be the label game. So come tomorrow and be ready for some fun.